Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video I am pleased to show you the Razer Viper Ultimate. Possibly the best mouse you can own. Keep watching to find out more. Okay, so in today's video we'll be taking a look at Razer's Viper Ultimate. Possibly the ultimate gaming mouse and productivity mouse. This is a fantastic mouse, fully wireless, and potentially can be used wired if you need to, if the battery for some reason goes flat, although it probably shouldn't do, as you do have up to 70 hours of gaming time or mousing time from this particular mouse with the built-in lithium-ion battery. It also comes with a charging dock, a fancy little cable, so if you do want to use it wired you can do, and it comes with a whole host of cool features such as fully optical switches, a ambidextrous design, and an absolute boatload of buttons. So let's go through the packaging, we'll go through the mouse itself, and then I'll discuss the pros and cons, and then you can make it your own mind whether or not this is going to be the mouse for you. So first of all, the one thing we're going to get out of the way is the price of this mouse. Now the regular price for this, if you were to buy it on somewhere like amazon.co.uk, which you can easily get this on, there will be links in the video description below. The normal retail price for this is some crazy astronomical price of around about £150, maybe even £160. I must admit, it's one of those things that's been so far off my periphery that at that sort of price I would not give it a second look. Although at the moment there has been some significant reductions in price, and this has actually been on the market for somewhere in the round of £60 mark, which I think is actually a far more attractive proposition, especially when you compare it with other mice of a similar specification on the market right now. I must say as well, this was also sent to us very kindly by Ugly Bob, who's a regular contributor to the channel, so thanks once again, Ugly Bob. So let's start off taking a look at the packaging. So pretty much the usual deal from Razer. We've got plenty of green, plenty of black. Also it supports Razer Chroma RGB. There is a splash of RGB on this in two places, which one of the places you probably wouldn't expect, but we'll show you that a little bit later. Also it features the HyperSpeed technology as well, which is based around the 2.4 GHz spectrum and is designed specifically by Razer for this particular product, and is potentially going to give you up to an extra 25% of increase in reaction speed from your gaming. Another cool feature is the Focus optical sensor, which has up to 20,000 DPI and a 650 inches per second tracking. So yeah, pretty decent specs there. On the bottom, it goes into more details. So yeah, there's the Razer optical mouse switches. We've also got the 5 onboard memory profiles, so you can set your own individual profiles for various different tasks, so for productivity, gaming, spreadsheets, whatever you want to do. And also one of the highlights of this is the weight of it. This is an ultra lightweight mouse. Well, what I would consider ultra lightweight, coming in at around about 74 grams, mostly thanks to that lithium ion battery. On the side of it, we've got some blurb from a what I can only assume to be a famous gamer. No idea. On the other side of the box, it goes into more detail about the HyperSpeed technology, which I'll leave on the screen for you now so you can have a quick read through that. And on the back of the box, it goes into some more of the specifications, and again, some of those features which we've already highlighted, including the ultra-fast Razer HyperSpeed technology, also the Razer Focus Plus 20K sensor, up to 70 hours of battery life, as we said. Also, the Razer mouse dock, which is a really nice addition. You can actually get this in two versions there. Well, actually, you can get it in more than two versions. There's various color options as well. We will be looking, obviously, at the black one today, but you can get it in black, white, pink, and also there is a cyberpunk version as well, should that float your boat. Carrying on, it mentions again the Razer optical mouse switches. So these are optical mouse switches. So rather than a traditional mouse switch where you've got a plunger and much like a mechanical keyboard where you've got a little kind of dip switch, this has a beam of light. So there's an infrared beam of light. As the switch passes through that beam of light, it triggers a response, which in theory is considerably quicker than a mechanical switch. So that's pretty much it for the packaging. Let's take a look and see what we actually get. And as you can see, it is packaged very nicely. This is something which actually Razer do really well. I've got a few Razer products, and their Ripsol HD is actually very good as well. Comes with pretty much everything you could ever want out of a particular kit, and this is no exception. So we've got everything we need here. We've obviously got the mouse itself, and we've also got the docking station. So let's take a look at the docking station first of all. So as you can see, very tiny, very compact, and got various options on here which make life considerably easier. So the first thing you can see is pretty much the giveaway is the charging contacts, which are spring-loaded. There is also around those a built-in magnet as well. So when you're actually putting the mouse onto the dock itself, it kind of locks into position, so you don't have to worry about it falling off or not charging correctly. All that is taken care of you don't need to worry about a thing as far as that's concerned. Moving up to the top section here, so there is a USB port there, as you can probably make out, and that is designed for the actual receiver to go into. So not only does this act as a charging dock, it also acts as a receiver, and kind of technically I suppose you would call it an extension as well. In order for it to be an extension, there needs to be a USB connection, so the USB connection is tucked away inside here, and it does actually come with its own custom micro USB cable, which is potentially one of the downsides, but we'll talk more about that a little bit later on. Around the side there is, you can see a translucent piece of plastic there, and that gives away some of the game already. That is actually down to RGB, so this also has built-in RGB, which can be controlled in the Razer Chroma software, or you can, if you want to, you can actually use the Signal RGB software, which I actually have a preference for. I'm not a big fan of the Razer software, the Cortex, etc. I do find it to be a little bit over bloated, so if you don't want to use that and you're thinking, I really like this mouse, I really like RGB, I want to control it a lot easier, then maybe check out Signal RGB. On the bottom of the dock, we've got a really nice non-slip rubber pad on the bottom, and this is possibly one of the stickiest pads I've ever known. It's not sticky as in tacky, but it just doesn't want to move. So once it's actually on a surface, it really doesn't want to move. So even giving it an absolute ton of pressure, it's only just about moving, and the amount of pressure I'm putting in that is, ouch, yeah, quite a lot. So just tapping it or moving it isn't going to go anywhere at all. And if you want to move it, you can pull it off the desk surface. It does stick pretty darn well. So that's the docking part of it. Let's take a look at the actual mouse itself. So the mouse itself, the first thing you notice when you take it out of the packaging is how light it is. It feels like it's not finished. It really does feel ridiculously light. 74 grams is very light in my personal opinion. Normally I'm used to mice somewhere around the kind of 80 to 120 and possibly even beyond. So this does actually feel particularly light. So for twitchy gameplay, you're going to love this. Looking at the buttons and also the actual layout itself, what I really like about this is the fact that it is pretty much fully ambidextrous. It is identical on both sides. So on the sides, we've got this really nice rubber coating, and above that, we've got the switches, so side switches. In fact, what I'll do is we'll stop briefly now and I'll show you what the actual switches sound like throughout the entire mouse. So hopefully that little bit of video has actually satisfied the need for all you clicky freaks out there. So let's move on. So as you've seen in the video, yeah, the mouse click is pretty spectacular. It sounds really good. It's extremely accurate. That is one thing which I noticed straight away. And the buttons themselves, they've got a really nice flare to them, which you can probably make out better from the front section. So they've got this kind of lip towards the outside edge, so there's a very limited chance of your fingers actually slipping off the side. It kind of pulls your fingers into that central section, so that is really comfortable. In between that, you've obviously got the mouse wheel. We've got a dimpled effect in rubber in the middle there, and it smoothly scrolls very nicely. There is a notch, a very definite notch, a very good indentation, which I personally prefer for accurate scrolling in documents, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. And also for me personally, I use this in CSGO for weapon switching. I always use the mouse wheel to do that. So for me, that makes sure I'm going to select the correct weapon at the correct time. Moving further back, you can see the design is pretty much universal across all of the surfaces in this really nice satin matte black finish, which doesn't appear to pick up many fingerprints, which I'm particularly pleased by, as I do spend a lot of time eating, drinking, and basically living at my computer desk. So that's always a bonus. Another thing I really like is the fact that when it does come to cleaning this, you don't have to worry about anything, because the actual LED, which is underneath here, is pretty much fully enclosed, and when the mouse is actually off, you wouldn't really know that there is an LED behind there, although on some angles the Razer logo is very slightly visible. Although when you turn the lights on completely, then the logo shines through, as you're probably seeing from some of the B-roll. Moving to the front of the mouse, on the front there is actually a section there with the micro USB cable connection. Again, this is possibly one of the downsides of the whole setup. As time has moved on, we've mostly gone over to USB Type-C for a lot of kind of more expensive devices. So it's a little bit of a shame to see a micro USB on there, and the fact that it does rely on a custom fitted one. There are actually slight indentations on each side for the cable to actually slot into, which we'll take a look at shortly. If you do lose the cable, essentially you're probably going to have to buy another one from Razer. Using a generic off-the-shelf micro USB cable physically won't fit without some form of modification to the side plastics. On the bottom of the mouse, we've got the 100% PTFE feet. There's 4 of those, and also we've got a central one around the 20K sensor. There's a lot of cool stuff going on down here actually. So you've got the charging prongs there, as you can see in brass, which mate up with the prongs on the base there, the dock. You've also got a physical on-off switch, and above that we've got a physical DPI switch. So you can switch between the 5 default DPIs which are set, or if you want to, you can install the Razer software and change those to your liking. The defaults are 400, 800, 1600, 3200, and yeah, that is pretty much it, but you can choose whichever one you want in the software, like I said. Another nice feature, which also can potentially be a bit of a downside, is the actual receiver itself. So the receiver, as you get it out of the box, is actually encased in the mouse. So there's a little flap here, which you can remove, little translucent flap, and underneath there is the receiver. And they've actually designed this pretty cleverly as well. All you need to do is push down very slightly on one side, and the USB part actually comes up, making it easy to take out. It's little things like that which I really do appreciate. What I potentially am slightly worried about is that this is tiny, so you may lose that, but actually the flap itself as well is quite kind of cheap translucent plastic. It's a little bit fiddly to get on and off, and there is going to be a potential to actually lose it, and as you can see at the moment I'm struggling to get it back in there. But yeah, I have a slight concern that that may go missing, and then if you do want to store the USB section in the mouse again, that could be potentially problematic, although realistically you're only going to do that whilst you're moving around, or when you're not using the mouse. When you're using the mouse, this is going to need to be either in the dock or in the back of your PC. So yeah, not the end of the world, but just one of those little niggly things. So that's it for the bottom of the mouse. Again, the weight of this still does amaze me. It does feel so light, it is insane. And the actual grip, the hold, etc., left or right-handed, it just feels really, really nice. For people with slightly larger hands, you're going to appreciate this. I'll actually put the size and dimensions on the screen now so you can see exactly what the dimensions are. But yeah, this is a very nice mouse. When it comes to the side buttons as well, something they've done, whether it's intentional or not, I'm not entirely sure. Some people are really concerned about having the buttons on the side because depending on your grip style, you've got the tendency for those accidental presses. But what they seem to have done is the actual buttons are actually quite well hidden in the side there. So it does take a definite amount of force to actually make them register, which for some people is going to be brilliant because it's going to mean you're not going to accidentally click them. But for some people, if you maybe struggle with dexterity, actually for me, I use my ring finger to actually activate the button. So I did have to get used to this, a little bit of muscle memory from my previous mouse where the buttons stuck out slightly more. So if you're used to a mouse where the side buttons do protrude slightly, this is going to take a little bit of getting used to, but once you do, it just feels absolutely perfect. Looking into the rest of the box, you get the obvious things, so you get your welcome to Razer and all that kind of stuff, and also you get a pamphlet with all the instructions in. And the last part of the kit is the USB cable. Now, like I said, this is a micro USB cable with a very unusual custom end piece on there, which it does actually say on there top, which kind of gives away the fact that there's clearly some complexity involved in this. There is actually little slots or indentations in the side of the plug, and is designed to fit in the mouse specifically in a certain way. So with that in the top position, you can put this into the mouse. So that just plugs in, and you can see it fits in particularly snug. It's all been made to fit perfectly. So if you want to use this in the corded version, you can do, and this will obviously charge it as well at the same time. But I think most people will probably never use it like that. What you're going to want to do is to put it into the charging dock. Now to do that, this actually does require a little bit of dexterity also. Again, those slots do match up inside, and trying to get a normal micro USB cable in there is, well, nigh on impossible. So again, if you do damage this, you are going to probably need to replace it directly from Razer. So all you need to do is to push this in the back, and the slots actually kind of pull it into place. What I would suggest as well, when you do plug it in, I actually found this the first time, I didn't think it had RGB, because it just basically didn't register, and that's because the cable wasn't fully inserted. So just make sure when you got the cable in, even though the plastic is flush with the back of the dock, push it in a little bit further so the actual USB part is actually fully inserted, and it goes in probably about another 3 or 4 millimeters past the plastic. So yeah, just make sure you do firmly push it in all the way. Once you do though, it's absolutely fine. And then you can plug the other end, which is just a regular USB type A cable, plug that into either your PC or at the front, back, rear, wherever you want to. Nice long cable, just under 2 meters in length there, and it has got this really nice power cord type cable on there, which is very, very nice. And then once you're ready, then you can go ahead and plug it all in, which we'll go ahead now so you can see what the RGB effects are like. I should have mentioned as well, I am rubbish at my job. There is actually a rubber strap there, so for cable management purposes, you can use that to keep the cables tidy, but yeah, entirely up to you on that one. As you can see, we've got this plugged in now to the PC behind me, and we've got the RGB going through the default kind of color flow at the moment. And actually, I think that's a really nice touch, especially if you've got your kind of like your gaming rig set up and you've got your mood light in. It just means it's a little bit easier to find on your desktop surface when you want to put it back into the cradle. Like I said before, all you need to do is to get the dongle and put that into the USB on the end there. And as you can see, that fits in. Something else which is actually really nice, which I don't know again whether it's intentional, whether it's just a happy coincidence, but the way they've actually put it in there makes it so it's very easy to get out. There is a recess above there. I'm guessing it's designed intentionally, and it's just really easy to get your fingers in there and actually pull it out. It's actually easier to do that than what it is to pull it out of a regular USB port. So yeah, I do appreciate that. When you do plug this in, you will find on your PC that it will invoke the Razer software, which potentially has already happened on there. You can, if you want to, you can choose to cancel the installation. Personally, I probably would, but again, down to the individual. So with the mouse itself, we can turn it on now. And in fact, it does charge in either the on or the off position. And again, when you turn it on, you get the small LED on the bottom there, telling you which DPI setting you're on. Press the button, and you can cycle through the various preset DPIs or the ones that you configure yourself in the Razer software. So I'm going to set it back to green because that is the one I generally tend to use. And as default, we've got the RGB effect in there, so it's going through the color cycle. Doesn't actually match up with that straight out of the box, so you will need to again use the software or Signal RGB to get all that to synchronize together. Now the lighting actually does play another part as well. So when you actually put this onto the charger, as you can see, the magnet kind of pulls it into place there, and then it'll start charging. You'll notice the charging light actually has changed color now. So currently we've got a kind of like a just slightly off red. There are various levels. So if it is red, that means the battery is almost completely flat. In this kind of browny red, that means it's kind of like the next level up. Then you've got yellow, pale green, and then you've got a solid green. So once it goes solid green, that means the mouse is fully charged, and yeah, you've got around about 70 hours of use time left. So you can work out how long it needs. There is a fast charge option as well. So if you do want to have a quick bit of gaming session, around about 5 minutes of charging will give you a good few hours of use. So it's not as if it is completely flat, it's the end of the world. And again, if you want to, you can always plug in the USB cable to get yourself going. Another feature of the mouse as well, if for some reason you're like me and very haphazard and forgetful, if you leave the mouse in the on position and you just leave it on your desk and you go away for a little while, it does have an automatic shut off, and as soon as you actually tweak it or move it, then it lights back up again. So it has got that auto sensing and battery saving feature. For me, I will probably never turn the mouse off again. I'll probably just leave it always on, put it in the dock, and when I go to bed, that sort of thing, it's going to be absolutely fine. Chances are, by the time if you do a couple of minutes charging every day, you probably never ever have to worry about it and never have to kind of leave it on charge for any longer time. But yeah, that's going to be down to the individual and how long you use your PC for. So overall, what are my thoughts? So the downsides we've been pretty clear about. Obviously that molded USB cable isn't the best in the world. That is going to be slightly problematic if it gets damaged or lost or whatever it might be. If you're a normal person, which hopefully most of you viewers are normal people, most of you are probably just going to get this set up, have it on your desk, and that's going to be it. You're never going to change it again. You're just going to take your mouse, enjoy it, and do what you would normally do. It's unlikely you're going to be unplugging the cable and potentially losing it. So I don't think it's going to be a particular worry, but it certainly is something to think about. I would have loved for it to have been a USB Type-C cable, which can be used obviously in either direction, so you haven't got any worries about actually getting it plugged in. But overall, I think for around about £60, this mouse is pretty much unbelievable. Now in gameplay, which I have been using, CSGO and various other things, I'm just using it on my PC doing video editing and stuff. The tracking is unbelievably accurate, it really is. Even quick moves, absolutely brilliant. Lift off distance is very good. So if you're going to re-centralize your mouse or reposition your mouse, you haven't got to worry about it doing kind of accidental movements when you do lift off. I think it's just over 1 CD's height lift off distance, so that is particularly good. Again, if you are one of those people who do reposition your mouse all the time. But for me personally, I would argue that this is potentially the best mouse that I've ever used. And at that point, I should really say thank you very much to Ugly Bob once again for sending it to us for review purposes. You really is our guardian angel. So let me know what you think about this one in the comments section below. Is this the sort of thing that you would pick up, especially at this sort of price now? Again, I'll put links in the video description for it so you can pick it up at what seems to be heavily reduced price at the moment. Over £100 off at the moment, which I think is phenomenal. At the normal retail price, I don't think I would give it a second look. I think that's way too much money to pay for a gaming mouse. Even if you're a professional, I think most people would kind of have a few moments to have a quick word with themselves about that sort of price. But again, let me know what you think about this one in the comments section below. But in the meantime, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.